Hello and welcome to another edition of Gamereactor Live. I'm Lee West. I'm joined by Rasmus Lund Hansen, Nick Holmberg, and Gillen McAllister on Skype. We will be having a lot of other editors coming in, pitching in for this, because we are going to talk about E3.
Yes.
And Nick, you know more about this than anyone, I think.
Yeah, the idea is we kind of talk, me and Gillen, a little bit first, because we've managed to latch on to the job of going there every year, and that's a lot of fun, right, Gillen?
Yeah.
We're having a bit of delay in case you're wondering out there watching the stream, but
It's absolutely great. No. I don't want to end up not going this year, so I'll be truthful about this. I'm joking. Yes, absolutely fantastic time there. Incredibly busy, as you may imagine. I have a few war stories to tell over our years, and we'll probably have a few more after this year's E3 as well.
Yeah. Should we start out with what our plan is for E3?
maybe just tell a bit about what E3 is.
Yes. All right, let's do that. E3 is what would you say, the biggest fair or convention we go to every year. We of course try to cover everything there is, but this is the biggest one. All the big press conferences, big news usually a lot of them come out of E3. The difference with E3 as well compared to other conventions that we go to is that this is industry only. So if you're sitting out there and thinking, oh, E3 sounds like a lot of fun, I want to go, then E3 is not the one you can actually go to.
It's not actually fun.
No. You can stand, there's cool posters outside, but that's about it, where you can see. Then you should go to PAX or Gamescom or something like that, where you can actually get in.
E3 is on the 10th to 12th of June, isn't it? And 9 for the press.
Sounds right. It's something like that. It's in the middle of June.
We will be covering it like crazy on Gamereactor anyways.
So that week, Monday is press conference day. We'll have Microsoft in the morning, US time. Then EA and Ubisoft, and then Sony, and then Nintendo, just like last year, is doing this. We're not doing a press conference, but it's
we're still there.
But it's kind of a press conference anyway on the internet. And then we have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is where we do have all our show floor coverage, all the presentations, interviews.
All the running like mad.
Yes, a lot of running, a lot of sweating, a lot of not sitting down, and a lot of not eating. I feel like referencing the article we did last year with the 10 rules of E3, where there's these rules: eat when you can, sit down when you can, all that stuff. And this year we're going to try to live stream a little bit from E3 as well, in the evening and in the morning. And now we lost Gillen, so I'll just continue explaining what E3 is. But yeah, so we're doing E3 again, just like we have been all the other years. We'll be going a couple editors, a couple of camera people, and we'll try to cover it from there. And of course, we'll have editors in all the countries writing up new stories from home, getting all the trailers up, all that stuff. Because actually, going there, I always end up coming home and talking to you guys and talking to my friends, and then people are like, "Did you see that game?" And I'm like, "I didn't even know that existed, even though I've been there." So don't feel too bad if you're not able to go, because
keeping up with the news of E3 is way easier from home than the actual place.
Of course, you won't get to play, but usually I get to play 1 or 2 games during that week, and you'll be able to see a lot more trailers and coverage from home. Anything I forgot to mention other than E3 is awesome?
We're going to have an absolute overload of news and trailers and everything on the Gamereactor sites during the event. So I think that's basically it.
If you're into gaming, you should definitely keep up with Gamereactor that week, because it's very exciting. It's where we get all the...
And it's one of the weeks where we don't sleep, where I remember sitting up at like 3 o'clock in the night, transcribing and telling people what is happening and stuff like that. I think it's great. Yeah. It's great fun.
And I mean, it is exciting that like the companies are saving some of the stuff that could have been out now. They're saving it for the big battle of E3. There's always the talk like who won E3, who had the best press conference, which game was the big one.
And of course, we're getting to see some previews that will be shown on E3, which we can't mention yet, but you know,
Yeah,
we have them ready, you
we
know,
know
so
some
we can
stuff
roll out
beforehand,
stuff.
yeah. All right, should we just jump into the first game? Let me just, Dory, should I try to get Gillen on? Yeah. Or are we just
Wonders
gonna
of
give up?
technology.
Yeah, we've got a huge list
And
of
shitty
games
British
we are.
internet.
Maybe I'll just introduce the first one, and
Do
then
that.
Yeah,
you can
do
start
that.
talking about that. So the first game,
There's no
very-
need for you to introduce
very
it because you love it.
deservedly
I mean,
first on the list, Uncharted 4. I should say we've talked to the other editors. Most of them didn't have time right now to join us on video, but we talked to them, and both David from Spain, Mika from Finland, and Ricardo from Portugal, which we'll have a video of, has Uncharted 4 in their top 3 of exciting games for E3.
and you have. I mean, you are such a Sony
it kind of doesn't
fanboy.
even.
It
It's not even on the list. It's kind of above the list.
oh yeah, of course, of course.
But yeah, let's run the trailer, and then are you excited for Uncharted 4?
Well,
Well, go.
the thing is, I think Uncharted is like kind of overrated. But, you know, sure, it'll probably be fun. It's interesting that, you know.
So what are you saying? We only need 2 chairs now.
Yeah, I can go.
We have one of those
Nah,
James
I
Bond
can't
like levers.
Sure. Well, you mean, I think the most interesting thing that's been talked about in Naughty Dog and Uncharted 4 recently is all the departures of people leaving the
So
studio.
a
after
fresh
being-
Uncharted.
That's one way to spin it.
Yeah.
You know, you could also like
With emphasis on spin.
spin it as a company in a crisis or
Yeah.
something, because the lead writer on all of Uncharted so
Yeah.
far, she's gone. She left for Visible and Star Wars, and
Which is gonna be awesome.
and the creative director on this very game
Yeah.
left to join Riot, League of Legends makers.
Yeah.
So, you know,
The thing with this sort of stuff is we'll never really, well, maybe in 10, 15 years we'll know, but we never get the full information on something like this.
not until somebody writes "You'll never eat lunch in this town again" book.
Yeah, and some of this does sound a little, it sounds like we know, like, she wasn't going on her own will, it sounds like. This sounds like there's some negativity
Yeah.
in this, but in the end we don't know. Maybe also this was,
There could be some of the guys being contract employees, you know, having
Yeah.
to finish one project and then leaving. So it could be, you know, fair play for some of the people here.
but
I
not
know
for the-
not Amy
not
Hennig,
the
but
leads,
that's what
but
I'm
sure.
saying.
but we don't know if it's Amy Hennig being like, okay, we have, you know, creative differences. I'm just gonna leave, or if it's like, oh my God, everything is chaos, and what are we gonna do? We don't know what state the game is in, if it will be good. Uncharted or Naughty Dog does have a good track record, but there's also the thing, these sort of studios, whether it's in games or it's in films or whatever, there's sometimes they have a really good track record, but eventually they'll do something that's not good. And maybe it's time for Naughty Dog. We'll see. Yeah.
I'm still waiting for that Uncharted go-kart
Yeah.
racing game. I mean, where is
But
it?
they screwed that up already because they made Last of Us. That was supposed to be after Uncharted 3.
That's true, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We don't really know a lot. They could have started over. I think actually Sony is probably a little bit annoyed that they put out this teaser, because if they hadn't, a lot of this probably wouldn't be public. Then they wouldn't have. I mean, we wouldn't be like, oh, why is Amy leaving?
You know, well, they wouldn't have put out that teaser without Sony's blessing.
No, but I'm just thinking, looking in hindsight,
Oh,
they would
yeah,
probably be
like-
like, if we hadn't put that, now this has gotten a worse spin
Sure.
from all the media. Then
Yeah, that's true.
then they could have avoided a lot of that.
Well,
Because now when someone leaves Naughty Dog now, we're like, oh my God, what is happening? And that probably wouldn't been as big of a story if it's been more hidden.
Well, I think it would have been the same even
Yeah?
if we didn't know Uncharted 4 was coming yet, because there's been so many high-profile departures from there.
It's just now we know
Regardless,
Uncharted
there
4
would've
is
been
started,
something.
and if we didn't know that was started, it would feel more natural that she would leave on her own account. But it's all speculation. We don't know. Let's see what happens with Uncharted 4. In the end, it's probably going to take a while before we actually see a lot of it. Do you think we'll see something from Uncharted 4 at E3?
Yeah, we're probably going to see a bit of in-engine graphics, but I think that's about it.
I'm thinking gameplay demo.
I'm actually thinking we won't see anything. That they're started completely over. If anything, we'll see something like this, and that's it.
I think they'll do some.
They can't show this again.
Proper.
No, but I think they've actually, because now I think Amy had written something, and now they're going to start over, and they don't have anything to show. But we'll see. It will be
so?
a big thing to show. Gillen, chime in. Uncharted 4. All the chaos of Naughty Dog.
Firstly, obviously enough, I'm not in the studio there, but if Rasmus or Lee, could one of you just pat Nick on the shoulder, because I know any news to do with Uncharted that's negative, he gets very upset about, and I don't want my boy crying at night. But I sort of echo your sentiments. I think you could swing this one way or another. The fact is that these high-profile names have left the project, and there could be an air of negativity surrounding Uncharted 4. But then again, it is possible that, like I said, I mean, people have sunk their time into the previous Uncharted games, and maybe this is the right time to cut ties with the company and try something new. I mean, people do get creatively tired doing the same game or the same series over and over again, and it's actually quite nice to try something new with your life, your career. I don't think we should have any worry about Uncharted 4 suffering, though, from these departures. Certainly, there's a sense of the DNA of the series is very intrinsically tied to these people, but Uncharted will continue and continue on and live, and even if it's slightly different than what perhaps it would have been conceived to be by these people if they were still with the project, I don't think it's detriment to the future of Uncharted by any means. I think we will see something more substantial than that very brief teaser that announced the project was coming at this E3. As to whether they've had to curtail what they would have shown if these departures hadn't happened, no, we will never know really. But I think, along with what Sony seemed to be doing with last year, certainly with their push for indie titles, the idea where they could actually have a small number of tentpole AAA releases and fill in the gaps between those with indie games is doing them in good stead for situations like this. Even if they don't show as much of Uncharted 4 as they originally were going to, they will have other stuff to push and fill that particular time gap with. But we will see something in Uncharted 4, and I'm seriously not worried about the project suffering with these departures.
All right, let's end Uncharted on that before we end up spending half the show on Uncharted.
Yeah.
Which we could do. That would be okay.
Yeah, no.
So Nick will spend half the show talking about Uncharted. The rest of us will be snoring.
Yes, next game on our list is The Division. Actually made very close to here in Malmö. I guess Ubisoft, they're always making games from like all over
the place.
Yeah. But it's their idea in Ubisoft Massive in Malmö. You're excited for that, right?
Yeah.
You both are, actually.
Count me
Of course.
in. Yeah, definitely.
Looks good. I'm just like,
MMO shooter. Go on.
yeah, like I think everybody's just worried that, you know, how the actual development is going, because all of the, you know, the rumored delays and the stuff about how it might be. You know, so somebody at Ubisoft said, yeah, there's no way this is going to be out in 2014, even though they said that off the, like, anonymously and sort of on the record, but they said, yeah, no, we don't believe it.
But they're getting a lot of help now. I mean, from different parts of Ubisoft. So.
Sure, and that's the Ubisoft force, that they can just throw like 2,000 people at a project and then it'll get done. But it sounds like what they showed at last E3, that was pretty much all there was at that point. And you know, it wasn't so much a game as it was just that one single demo.
But it looked amazing.
It looked amazing, and I've like that scene right there.
And he just taps the door. I love that.
Yeah. And you know, well, but you know, assuming they can deliver on that, and I don't think there's any reason to think they can't. It's going to be great. But
I think the main thing is that we can be a little bit afraid that sort of the Watchdog thing happened, where people were so excited for that game at E3, it like blew everyone away, and then that has turned into people being a little bit disappointed. And I think some people are afraid of that now, that we'll end up that it can't fully deliver on that or all that. But in that way, I'd rather have it being delayed a little bit, and then we actually get something closer to what we sort of dream it will be.
sure.
Yeah. Gillen, do you have anything to add on The Division?
Really just sort of talking about tying into the experiences we had with E3. It's worth pointing out Ubisoft every year have delivered a fantastic show, and in fact, despite Microsoft and Sony obviously being the heavy hitters of E3, I think there's more expectation with what Ubisoft are going to show, because they have got into that sequence of finishing off their everything with a big surprise reveal. I mean, like you mentioned, Watch Dogs did that. Division did that last year, and I love the look of it. The look of it, and I certainly love the surprise of it. But I think it's true enough that we're sort of getting aware now of the proof of concept that these E3 showcases aren't necessarily what translates into the final product. I mean, we've always known that, but I think added to the fact that we're shifting into the new gen, I think stuff that was shown in the Division certainly was hinting at what was possible on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, certainly high-end PCs. So I think there was a greater belief that what we see is what we're going to get in the final product. But one thing that I always thought was a sad thing to see with Watch Dogs, it was ultimately the focus on visuals, on the visual fidelity sort of like being stripped away as we got closer and closer to release. And I think people's focus on that is such a shame, given that the gameplay mechanics seem very interesting, certainly with the Division, the idea about what you're doing in the game, certainly how you're teaming up with people as well. I think that should be offering us a unique sort of gameplay style when it does eventually release. I think it was a bit of a non-story, the fact that it slipped into 2015. No one looking at that game could have turned around and went, yeah, that'll definitely be out early this year, or even this year at all. Because, you know what, I'm happy, I'm sure a lot of people are happy for these games for people to take as long as they can with these games to make sure they're razor sharp when they come out. No one complained about GTA 5, that long gestation period for that, because people saw how great the final product was. And if Division comes out next year, late next year, and it's as polished and good looking as that, brilliant. If it comes out next year and it's not quite up to the visual fidelity of what they had with that E3 concept video, but the gameplay's fantastic, I'm good with that as well. It's nice to see different multiplayer games come out, different sort of type of games come out in the near future on next gen, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Visuals would be lovely, but gameplay rules at the end of the day.
I just want to, of course, people are probably going to complain and bring up Last of Us, but that door thing reminds me of something, Killian, you actually mentioned in The Last of Us, where when you have Ellie against a wall and you sort of climb around her, the way Joel reacts to that. And in the end, I'd rather have much more of that than whether it's 900p or 800p. That
Agreed.
It's those like tiny details like that makes the world come alive, you know?
I have a theory that the people who really
argument, I think, is just a really easy news story for people to do.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy for people to swing at console manufacturers. I think it's a non-issue. Maybe 5 years down the line when we all have 8K TVs that are 53 inches big, and we want every single pixel looking great on screen. Yeah, maybe we can have the argument then, but come on.
But it seems like the developers can't win anyways. I mean, look at Watch Dogs, they downgrade the graphics a bit, and everyone complains. And then they decide, okay, we're going to lock the frame rate, or maybe go lower than 60 frames per second, and then upgrade the graphical quality again. And then everybody complains as well. I mean, it's like gamers just want to complain. Instead of saying, okay, this is a sandbox game, we don't necessarily need 60 frames a second. So if they've got a vision of something in the game, let's see. Let's see the final product before screaming.
I also think most of the people banging the 1080p drum couldn't actually explain what the difference between 1080p and 1080i is. So it seems like the sort of it reminds me of the stat quoting that went around the last time they introduced new consoles, where everybody was talking about this has so many cores, and this has so and so many gigahertz, and nobody really knows what those numbers actually mean in reality. They just know one number is bigger than the other, and so it has to be better. Yeah.
Well said. Let's move on to the next one. Gillian, tell us when you don't have time to join us anymore, because I don't know how much time you have. But next on our list, if Dory is ready with it.
Well, I can sit in for a couple more, I'm sure, and then I'll disappear off.
Okay, great. I think the next one is one you were very excited for as well, The Witcher 3.
Yes. To be honest with you, I actually haven't seen a huge amount of it. Or were you talking to someone else?
No,
me?
no, it was you.
It's just a delay
me,
we're
it was
laughing
me.
at, you know?
I have a great respect for single-player driven adventure games with a huge push on story. And certainly as we're seeing the shift in new gen, and there's a great focus on maybe having multiplayer elements or connected shared worlds. I like to see a game that's big, huge, chunky. I mean, Witcher 3, you're going to imagine that's going to be a 40, 50 hour game, easy, that you can immerse yourself in and completely forget about the outside world, in fact, anything else that you know, and just really get involved in that new story of Geralt. CD Projekt have proven before with Witcher 2, they know what they're doing. Actually, this feeds into what we're talking about actually with the Division. They can pull off these visual miracles on console and PC, so I'm expecting a very beautiful game. Sort of the deep sort of gameplay mechanics and those story quests. There's one point. Was it with this? Remind me. Was it with this, Nick? We were talking about the idea that in Witcher 3, there's no such thing as a side quest. Whatever like a supplemental to the main thing, everything will feel packed. Everything will feel huge. Everything will feel in depth. So it doesn't matter what. Choose your own adventure, basically, and whatever you do, it's going to be phenomenally good to play.
Yeah, it's more like when you're playing the game. I think we talked about was that it's not like you're not choosing. I want to play the main story. I want to play a side quest. You just choose what you sort of want to do, and then the story evolves around that, which could be very, very cool. Lee, we talked about this the other day when we were playing Bound by Flame, that we were sort of in need of an RPG.
Indeed.
Is this like the first big one we're gonna get? Is this the one we're waiting for?
It's the one we're waiting for. yeah, no doubt about it.
I think
I'm really looking for, and of course that's one of the reasons I kind of like Bound by Flame, even though it has a lot of faults. It's simply because I'm waiting for a good role-playing game, but I've no doubt that The Witcher 3 will deliver on this, especially compared to Bound by Flame.
Rasmus?
I have nothing further to add.
No. Are you excited for it as well?
Sure, yeah. I mean, Witcher 2 was great. Witcher 2 was pretty goddamn awesome, and Witcher 3 looks fantastic. And given their chops and their previous record, I think it's fair to assume that it's going to be a pretty great game.
Yeah. CD Projekt Red were also working on that Cyberpunk game.
Yes.
Should that happen at E3? Should I expect to see that? I'm asking the guy who's not going.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the time frames here because I think that might be like a 2015, 2016 project.
But wouldn't it make sense to sort of post a reminder? Hey, we're also working on this game.
Yeah, sure. Like probably.
E3,
Yeah. Like I mean, they sure as hell announced it really early.
Oh yeah.
I think that might my words are failing me. That announcing the game that early might have as much to do with trying to lure in talent to actually work on it than it has to generate player consumer buzz for it. I can't remember. I think it's supposed to be 2015. So
But it showed
so
published-
now
the trailer
might
was
be-
awesome.
Yeah, the trailer was
I could-
absolutely
it's running
fantastic.
now.
And if it's a 2015 project, yeah, it makes
be
sense
pushed
to probably do something on it at this E3. And
But
if
them
it's
having announced
2016,
it,
well,
there should be a good chance they actually show something again.
Yeah.
I guess.
maybe just like a hint at the story or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they don't want to go too heavy on the gameplay side of things until Witcher 3 is out the door.
Yeah. But just continue to tease us with this
yeah.
is happening.
That
What
could be
about
cool.
you in this Cyberpunk game?
I haven't seen much about it. I think, as Rasmus was saying, they're keeping very quiet on it. But as a Cyberpunk fan myself, just in terms of the genre, I'm very stoked for it. Whatever they got going will have my interest. It was definitely on my radar. If they want to do like a thing of sort of like fantasy with Witcher 3, once that's finished, go on to Cyberpunk after that, all well and good. It's one of those things of, because we're just starting the new generation really, I think same as every other prior generation, developers are only really getting their teeth into what consoles basically can do now, and we're not going to see sort of what they can actually build maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the line. So It's
All right, Gillen,
Yeah,
Gillen, you sound like a robot now.
Gillen is breaking up.
so let's move on to the next thing.
I would be
terrible
very
British internet.
happy.
Mad Max.
Oh yeah,
That's one that I don't really know anything about, actually.
It's
So-
the guys who made Just Cause,
Yes.
and I think that is enough to make us go like, woohoo,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
want
like-
this.
just Cause makers making a Mad Max open world game. That sounds like a match made in
Okay,
heaven.
should I expect Just Cause with Mad Max skin, or what are they doing differently?
I don't think there's as many airplanes as in Mad Max.
No?
No,
But a lot more
you know,
desert.
fuel being scarce and all that.
Okay.
I think the game was just delayed recently,
Yeah, I think so too.
which might be, you know, can be indicative of two things: either the project is a complete cluster F, or they just need some more time for polishing.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a good-looking game made from people who certainly have the track record to lend them some goodwill. So, I'm hoping I have hopes for this one.
Do you think we're going to see any like open world racing in it, like The Crew, for example? I mean, there's a lot of emphasis in the movies on the different cars and stuff like that.
Sure.
Do you think they're going to sort of expand on that compared to like just Cause?
I'll say that I'll be disappointed if it doesn't have a Thunderdome. I'll say that. But you know,
But you can live without Tina Turner, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, you know, they can come up with something else for that. But I think even as that trailer sort of implies, like an open world game like this which is car focused because it's Mad Max, certainly lends itself to some sort of racing. Besides all the mayhem and craziness and destroying things. Parts of that trailer right now looks like a race. So you know,
Yeah.
that seems like a good bet.
Would make sense, and at least that you can drive around in the world. And yeah, but hopefully we'll see at E3.
Yeah.
Next on the list is one of the games that Fabrizio from Italy, Gamereactor Italy, is very excited for. Quantum Break, Remedy's next game. We've had one of our guys in the chat every day talking really positive about Remedy, so I'm sure he's excited for it. Is that one of the games you're excited for as well?
To be honest, not really, but that is basically because I got so tired of the last E3 conference with Microsoft going, hey, TV that and TV this, and I mean, this is a game, but they mentioned TV series, and I was just like, no, I've had it with it. But it looks really exciting, and it looks, no, I would rather say it looks promising.
Yeah.
If they deliver on the promise to sort of merge gaming and a TV series, it could be interesting, but I have no idea whether or not to look forward to it.
I'm sort of in a similar camp where I feel like we don't know enough.
Yeah, the thing about it is everything they've shown so far has been like really high concept, like lots of big words and ideas, and you know what like the whole time freezing thing. That certainly sounds cool.
But are we actually going to see that like that?
Yeah, and you know, Remedy are pretty good at story-focused games and cinematic experiences and all that. But what I want to see is like a proper indication of how this thing is going to play with the actual controller in your hand. That's what I want to know. And so far, they haven't been, you know, very generous with that sort of thing.
No. This looks more like a cutscene or something.
That totally looks. That is a cutscene. It might even be, as far as I know, because they're trying to do that fusion of video game and TV series. So it's going to be like you play a mission, and then you sit down and watch an episode of the show. And
That's
then
sort
you
of like
play
playing a Metal Gear game.
Sort of like playing a Metal Gear game, yeah. Like, and I want to know what the actual game is. Again, Remedy is a great developer. They've done great things in the past, but
Yeah, over in the chat is going nuts.
Stop.
You know, Quantum Break. Woo!
stop being vague about it, and you know, show us the goods.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking.
True. The next one, I'm very excited for. The Order 8086. One of the big surprises for me last year at E3 that I...
It's really fun because I do like steampunk, but this game just did nothing for me. I looked at it and I was like, yeah, werewolf, steampunk, sure. It looks like third-person generic stuff.
I'm just thinking the 4-player co-op, steampunk sort of thing.
Co-op,
Ready at Dawn finally getting to do, like, it sounds like there was a lot of guys there who had been, you know, helping out doing lesser important tasks, finally get to do their own game. And the developers there at E3 seem very passionate, and it sounds like it's people who know what they're doing. And new IP, on PS4, like that could be very awesome. I think. I don't know if Dory has the trailer, but last year was also we didn't get to see a lot. We got to talk to them, see some mostly concept stuff, and then one trailer that we've seen.
Again, it's a case of show me the money. Come on, right?
And you were talking about they've always delivered. I mean, even on the God of War games and stuff like that.
Like Ready at Dawn has done pretty well with the stuff they made. So like seeing them sort of move beyond the limits of having somebody else's IP imposed on them and doing something that's really their own could be cool. But again, sounds nice on paper. I want to see the actual thing.
Yeah. The other thing for me is, in general, Sony's own studios tend to be really good at using their machines. And
that's true.
And in the past, it's been like this sort of thing where they take the God of War IP and show that they can do good work, and then they get the chance to prove. And it's usually the people who have managed to then do good products with other IPs that get to do this stuff. So, and it's just 4-player co-op, right? That should be good.
That should
More
be
co-op.
good. Yeah.
Shooting people.
It's the kind of thing that's usually difficult to mess up.
That's true.
Like most games become better with co-op. There's been a few exceptions like Lost Planet, but other than that, usually.
I'm just thinking this and then Evolve, and like there'll be a lot of co-op fun. Coming up. So, all right, next one, Doom 4.
Yes.
Gata is really excited about that as well. I want to say.
We know nothing.
We know jack squat about Doom 4. We know there's a beta coming up.
Yeah.
That you can get by pre-ordering a certain game, but other than that, we know nothing. The rumors coming out of id Software have been terrible. Apparently, like listening to some of the ex-employees who speak anonymously, it is under terrible management, and the project leads have no idea what they're actually doing.
And Carmack left id Software as well?
Supposedly, yeah, Carmack left, and supposedly everybody else on the tech development side left for Oculus Rift. So everything about id Software at current sounds terrible.
So is this like all the big studios are falling apart? Now we have Naughty Dog and id, and like which was the next one where it's like everybody's leaving?
I don't know, but I think like the situation at id sounds way worse than at anywhere else I've heard about pretty much. Obviously, that's written by people who have left the company. Like those statements have been made by people who've left the company and they've done so anonymously. So you might imagine they might be a little bitter or scorned or whatever. And given the fact that there's actually a beta coming of Doom 4, you might like they must have made some progress on the game, right?
And everyone will have a chance to see part of the game.
Part of pre-order bonus for Wolfenstein.
Yeah. And given that if they're far ahead to start promoting a beta of the game, they should be far enough along to actually show the thing.
But we don't know when the beta is coming, right?
Oh no, we don't know
So it could be a
about
thing
that,
where like in 4 years you'll have the thing for.
Yeah, it could be like with the Medal of Honor game, the reboot, where it's like, hey, pre-order this and get the Battlefield 3 beta, and that wasn't a year later. I think it'd be weird to sort of promote something that much in advance.
But weirder things have happened.
Sure. Sure.
We'll see.
But I think, a Doom 4 reveal is pretty. I don't know what else they would reveal.
Do you think that will be at either Microsoft or Sony then?
Oh.
Because there's always the thing, they have their own products, and then it's like they usually have a big thing from a third party.
Right.
Microsoft had Metal Gear last year. There was a lot of Destiny at Sony. There was, of course, Call of Duty at Microsoft.
I'm trying to think of if they've done any sort of other partnerships, Bethesda, with the upcoming games. But the only other thing they really have coming up is The Evil Within, which wasn't at last year's E3. So.
But it would be big if either Microsoft or Sony could start, or in somewhere in the press conference be like,
oh yes, I mean,
Doom 4.
Unless they just want to stay with it at the show floor, they have to really either at Microsoft or Sony, because they're not doing their own press conference. So I don't know which one they would go with. So your guess would be as good as mine.
Yeah. Probably
Next game?
My guess would probably be better actually. But next game, Evolve.
Yes.
You played that like crazy.
I played that like crazy. I played it in February, and then I played it again last month. The same map, same monster, same classes.
And if you don't know Evolve,
and I still loved it.
The game is not out.
Yeah.
Rasmus is playing a game that's not out repeatedly.
I'm lucky like that.
Yeah.
But no, everything I've tried of Evolve, and I've tried it twice now, has just been completely amazing. And I'm really expecting and hoping that they'll reveal something new here, because for the initial reveal, they had one monster, one level for certain hunters.
Yeah.
And they already
One
said
in each class.
yeah, there's going to be more monsters, there's going to be a lot more levels, there's going to be more hunting classes.
More of everything.
And also, it's the guys who made Left 4 Dead, right?
Yeah. The
Yep.
first Left 4 Dead.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like
We like that.
we'll see at least a new level with whatever they're showing at E3, and probably also some new hunter
It
characters.
makes sense to new of everything.
I think they might want to stick with the same monster for now.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so, and then probably reveal a new one at Gamescom. That's what I imagine they'll be doing.
All right, I'm taking notes. Let's see how we
taking notes
predict.
for predictions.
But you know, Evolve, it's already for me a candidate for like Game of the Year or something. I love the hell out of that game.
Yeah, me too. I actually want to say I'm a big Uncharted fan. I think the Uncharted hype thing that's been put on me is true, but maybe not to that level, because I'm actually more excited for Evolve and The Order than I am for
Right.
Uncharted right now. Maybe because, again, we haven't seen a lot. I was on one of those trips with Rasmus, and Evolve is probably the most fun I've had this year playing a game. So, again, it's very much a slice,
Yep.
but that was really cool.
And what I was the most happy to discover that playing the game again, even though it was just a tweaked version of the same demo, you know, all the same excitement came back right at once.
Yeah.
So it's shaping up really nicely.
Yeah, cool. The thing for me now is like, again, it's the slice. Will there be enough diversity in different levels and different monsters, or will it be repetitive after you played it a little bit? Next on the list, Insomniac has betrayed PlayStation. Sunset
Oh
Overdrive.
yeah, of course, that's how you would deliver it.
No, I'm actually really excited for this game. Would be maybe this is the first and only thing so far. Well, Titanfall as well, where I've thought I could buy an Xbox for this one. Looks so awesome.
It looks, I mean, it's an explosion of zombies, weapons, and colors. And
Orange
that,
stuff.
I mean, even, again,
Orange stuff.
yeah, but even the cover is just like go happy. Tons of stuff happening. For me,
Like that.
it looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks fun. And supposedly they were saying something about the reason they went Xbox One exclusive with this is that Microsoft offered to let them keep all the rights for the IP, which
yeah.
means
Sony hasn't done that in the past.
which means that at some point in the future, Sunset Overdrive 2 maybe, or Sunset Overdrive 3 could come out also on a PlayStation.
Exactly, yeah.
That sounds like it's like what they did with Titanfall as well, where it sounds like Titanfall 2 would be multi-platform.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Titanfall is a sort of different deal because Microsoft just paid them a ton of money to stay Xbox exclusive, whereas this is published by Microsoft,
Okay.
but
in the end, it should
Insomniac
mean the
still
same
remains
main
retains
thing.
the IP.
Like the company has the rights, and the next one should. But yeah, I think looking at the past games from Insomniac, they're really good at doing different weapons, like Ratchet and Clank,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yep.
Resistance, and they're good at like gameplay is really what they're good at, and it seems like that's what they're focusing on now. And again, new IP, that's I think always exciting. So, anything we have to add to that?
No.
Just
Yes,
look,
I mean,
looks awesome.
Do you think we'll see a
That's
new
amazing.
trailer at Microsoft's press conference? That would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it?
I'm hoping they'll do like a live gameplay demo and then have the thing playable on the show floor.
I mean, if they're going to go with the title Game On for the Microsoft conference,
Yeah.
and they should definitely be showing stuff like this, which is, really annoying. A lot of fanboys, PlayStation fanboys, Nick.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be out this year, isn't it? Or am I? Or
That looks.
There's
just
nobody-
The guns.
yeah. If it's supposed to be out this year, it would make sense that they let it be playable at the Expo.
Yeah, it
So
should be.
fingers crossed.
Hopefully. Maybe that will be one of the games I get to play. I wouldn't mind that. On to another shooter. Borderlands, the pre-sequel. First of all, what's up with that title?
That's awesome.
That's
just
Borderlands in a
typical
nutshell,
Borderlands.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So, are we excited for Borderlands? More Borderlands?
Of course.
I would love to say yes, but I can't stand another long-winded tutorial. I really hate those, whenever I want to re-roll a character, I have to go through this 15 hours, jibber-jabber. I don't want it again, and that's the reason I stopped playing Borderlands 2. And it's really a shame. Give us an option to turn it off. please. And so I'm excited until I realize that I need to go through a 15-minute tutorial every time I want to re-roll. And then I'm not so excited anymore. I hope they've changed it.
Probably, possibly. I think a lot of people have raised that concern. And since that this game is being made not by Gearbox but by one of
that's
2K's internal studios, there should be some definite room for improvement there.
And it's previous gen, not current gen.
Yeah.
Right? Which I think makes a lot of sense, but that's something that lowers my sort of excitement for it a little bit, even though I don't have an Xbox One or PS4 yet.
It's sort of like, without comparing them otherwise, sort of like Batman Arkham Origins and those other where you hand off the series to different studios
And then
and
we'll
the
get
owners for a while.
the proper game later.
No, it's about using getting the most out of what you already made, because they can reuse all the technology and probably some of the assets, and then concentrate on just building something that's fun.
Do you think this will be a big game at E3? I don't see this being showed off at either of the conferences because they're going to focus on the new console.
Yeah, they're probably going to focus on the new, and also I think. 2K,
But then again, Sony would probably do something like, we haven't forgotten the PlayStation 3 or something, and then they would sort of throw it in with one of they always do these
montages.
wheels.
Yeah.
So they would probably do it there and go like, hey, we haven't forgotten this.
Sure. Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
I actually just won SingStar for the PlayStation 4. What's happening with that?
I think it's dead, Jim.
It can't be.
No, dead.
I don't think. I think there's not enough selling of new consoles in that right now.
Yeah.
I
I think also like.
Well, it's a freemium game, everyone can download it. And how hard is it to port this shit?
I just don't think.
Probably not very hard, but probably not worth
on
the investment yet either. Because I think that niche is sort of over.
You don't know how many songs I buy for this. It would be worth it for Sony,
You alone?
Yeah, Lee's going on a spending spree
Sure.
again.
Maybe we should do a Kickstarter then.
YMCA? Ooh, I need that.
All right, and in the Borderlands.
Speaking of Borderlands.
Yes. Do you want to do my?
Tales of the Borderlands.
Yes.
Telltale Games.
Telltale
Woohoo.
Games doing that concept is so weird to me.
Yeah.
But then again, you've got so many interesting stories and characters
Sure.
in Borderlands, in the Borderlands universe.
But did you
And
play Borderlands for the story?
Yes, not
Okay.
for the loot. I kind of agree with that. But I also played Borderlands to experience the world.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the main focus was loot. So it's going to be strange how to see if they can actually incorporate that in some ways. But I mean, in a way, I don't care because I love The Walking Dead. I love The Wolf Among Us. So I just want to see what they can, do with the Borderlands license.
Yeah, they'll probably come up with something entertaining.
But how many teams are there now? Like, will we see this soonish? Because they're still working on The Walking Dead, right?
Yeah, but they're getting a lot of external help. For this one, they're using Gearbox's assets. And they have the writers on Game of Thrones for that one. So they're getting a lot of external help on the game. So I think they can manage it.
Yeah, and
Is it
also I
all
think
4 games at a time?
well, I think it's probably doable because Telltale has sort of found their formula, and the way they work, and they seem like a pretty well-run studio. So they don't have to reinvent the wheel every time they make a game.
No.
They build on past experiences, and it's the story stuff that's the most important, and they can probably hash out that pretty well. They have some great writers, right? It's not like they have to. It's not like they'll make half a game and then scrap it because they find out that the basic gameplay premise isn't actually fun.
No.
And which is what usually happens with those long, drawn-out projects. So I'm thinking, this is
Sounds
probably
doable.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I just want to add that in the chat is being said about SingStar. Lee is so right. SingStar. So when are you going to stream SingStar, guys? Yeah, wow, good idea. SingStar live stream. Haha.
If Lee wants to sing
Lee seems to
SingStar-
want it, and I'm sure Lasse would be up for it.
I mean, I'm down. I don't want to. I'm not gonna sing for people.
No, me
No.
neither, actually. Not on the live stream. I don't think so, no.
So I think that's a confirmation that we'll see a SingStar stream with Lee and Lasse. So look forward to that.
Wait, what?
We have it on video. All right. Next up, I want to get Mike in here, if I can.
Get that mic.
Let's
Crossing
see.
our fingers that he won't turn into, as they said in the chat,
I don't even
a
know how to start
Robocop
this.
R2D2 and Gillinator.
A Gillinator.
Gillen is still in here. How do I kick him out?
Well, don't worry about it.
The wonders of modern technology.
And we're connected to Mike.
There's a
Looks
picture.
like there's a
Hey!
picture.
What?
And
You don't want to see me there as well?
yeah, there we go.
Hello, Mike.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well.
And he's not the lady, but
He has better internet than Gillen.
he has
Yeah.
way better internet than Gillen.
You're not pixelated or anything.
Yes, sir.
It's amazing.
One of the many reasons we like Mike.
Yes, fiber optic broadband means I'm everybody's best
Good.
friend.
Let's start with you for the next game, Halo 5. I know you've been playing a lot of the previous Halo games. Why should I be excited for Halo 5?
Well, I'm excited is perhaps a strong word. I'm actually a bit nervous about Halo 5, to be honest. I mean, I am looking forward to it, and I can't wait to get my hands on it to see what 343 have come up with. But I mean, Halo 4 was decent, but I suppose we're about to find out whether they're able to kind of take the series back to where it was, or whether it's just going to slip into being one of those IPs that just doesn't have the same draw, the same appeal as it once did back when Bungie were making games, or those games in particular.
I guess we sort of need to see something big from Halo this year, right? Because like last year they showed that tiny sort of short video that didn't really show anything.
Yeah, they wouldn't even say what it was. It was just like, oh, Master Chief. It's something about Halo. Woo.
I would be amazing
Master
if they were
Chief
like,
is
"It's
so
not Halo,
boring."
we just took him into another game.
Well, I mean, but they wouldn't call it Halo 5, is what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
they wouldn't go...
Explain to please explain to me. What's up with everybody loving Master Chief? I've always found him a bit of a bore. I mean, it's like
Does everybody? Do you
it's,
love
it's
Master
a generic
Chief, Mike?
soldier in a helmet, you know.
I really like the lore and the whole kind of background, and the fact that Master Chief, he's a very stoic character.
What?
No, so now it's more. No. No, that's even worse, isn't it?
That's worse.
Beautiful.
That's the best.
Yeah,
Anyways,
that's all right.
back to your bad excuses about why Master Chief doesn't suck.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't think he sucks. I just I think that he's a bit of a blank canvas, you know. So the people can kind of, because he's that strong silent type, people can kind of throw a bit of personality on him. And obviously you never see his face. There's a bit of mystery to him, which is why I think he's quite an enigmatic character. But yeah, I think you're right earlier when you said that we've got to see, we need to see a lot more of Halo 5 or whatever they call it this year. The trailer that we saw last year was pretty slim pickings. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out what's coming. Really, I mean, the main thing is, I mean, the story was fine. The actual single player campaign, it didn't have the same replayability as Reach or Halo 3 in particular, but it's the multiplayer, which at first inspection, it seemed all right. You know, I mean, I still dip in every now and then. I've got friends who still play it, and it's solid multiplayer. But there was something missing. There's that kind of the must-have ingredient that kept people coming back in huge numbers to Halo 3 and maybe to a lesser extent, but the same kind of popularity for Halo Reach. It was just not. It was just absent in Halo 4, and I think the user numbers, the online user numbers, dropped off massively in comparison to previous Halo games, and they're going to have to really turn it around if they want to turn Halo 5 back into the kind of the centerpiece of of the Xbox calendar, because as I said earlier, if they don't do something quite drastic, if they can't recapture the old that level of top quality that they had before, then this one's just going to slowly drift off into obscurity.
My big concern is that they won't actually show a Halo 5 and then just do a Halo 2 anniversary edition, and then wait with the brand new Halo until next year. I'm scared of them doing that.
Yeah.
I think we'll definitely see more of Halo 2 anniversary, but I don't think we'll get masses of information, but I think we're going to get certainly more than we got last year, which was that 30-second trailer or whatever it was with Master Chief walking out the desert looking like Mad Max. I think we'll get something. I hope we get something, because there are a lot of people still sitting on the fence, still sitting on an Xbox 360, deciding actually whether they should be getting a PlayStation 4 next time around. And if they don't pull out something decent Halo related, then I think there'll be a lot of undecideds upgrading to PlayStation 4s instead of Xbox Ones, and obviously that's a big deal for Microsoft.
Do you think we've just gotten to a point now where people are just like, Halo is kind of done, I'm kind of done with Call of Duty, now I want to play Titanfall and Destiny and all these like new IPs instead?
Possibly. I mean, I think if they can churn out an incredible game, I think people will come and people will play it. I think the biggest threat to Halo's crown isn't Call of Duty. It never has been. I mean, perhaps the biggest threat to Halo would have been trying to employ too much Call of Duty features, too many of those features, and try and broaden its appeal in that direction. But I think the biggest threat, obviously, is Destiny, which I think is the game we're going to talk about next, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that, Titanfall could kind of be taking over the Call of Duty role, and Destiny could take over from Halo now.
But don't you think it's
find
also
out.
because, I mean, people got the next generation of consoles and they weren't blown away. Some people had too high expectations of what to get when we got the new consoles, and they weren't blown away. So now they're just going like, okay, I don't want more of the same. I want to be blown away, and they need a new IP for that. Like looking at Titanfall and going like, wow, that's crazy fun. So people are more into getting new experiences simply because, well, the consoles didn't deliver the leap they were expecting.
I think you're both right and wrong. I don't think it's got anything to do with people not being happy with the games throughout, but I do think people want. I mean, it's the same thing we've talked about here, that it's exciting to get new IP. I will be most likely will be playing Call of Duty this year again, but I'm also excited to get something new, and I think that's actually what Mike is talking about as well. If I haven't been a Halo guy, but when they announce new Call of Duty, I'm like, I actually just want that feeling that I've had every year, like new maps, new feeling. Don't change it too much, and then I want something different as well. But if they can manage to do that with Halo and Call of Duty, give me that feeling that makes me come back and play it over and over again, then I will continue to play that game. But I also want something completely new. But yeah, as Mike was saying, let's jump on to the next game, Destiny. Let's start off with you two. Is that going to be the big shooter for you guys, or?
Well, no, I think Evolve is going to be a big thing for me, but I'm definitely looking forward to Destiny. Saying that, apparently reactions were to the recent press tour that everybody was on, including us, has been more mixed than our coverage let on. Or at least, like, I know Gillen was really excited about it. I've heard some other people who were
Go back and
more,
watch the Destiny preview live stream.
Yeah, but I also heard from some people who were more like, it's missing something.
But for me, I'm looking much more forward to this than Evolve, quite simply because this feels like a mix of Borderlands and Halo, and I want that. I want that big experience. I want to go around and explore stuff. And that's why I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, the reason I'm so big on Evolve is because I played it. And, I've like this Destiny to me is still, it looks really good on video, and I know some people who played it whose opinions I trust, and they say it's good, but I haven't actually seen it for myself, so I'm not ready to make any judgments on it.
Okay.
But I will say, I've been excited ever since they showed that gameplay demo at last year's E3 at the Sony presser. That looked really convincing, I felt, and everything that's sort of come out since then has also looked really convincing. So I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
But then again, I mean, they're going to cater for kind of two different audiences, aren't they? I mean, this is an MMO, it's at least a multiplayer game with more than 4 players.
Sure.
Mike, where do you stand on this? More or less excited about this than Halo?
This for me, I mean, I haven't played it yet. I've just I've read and reread Gillen's report. I mean, this for me, this is the game that I'm most looking forward to this year. You know, when I was a massive Halo fan. I still like that IP, but I'm really interested to see what Bungie come up with next. And I think it was Lee just mentioned about it being an MMO. You know, they're staying away from that word wherever possible and calling it an open or shared world shooter. And how much, I'm not sure how much it will feel like an MMO will kind of, I think, dictate how a lot of people take to it. But for me, a big chunk of this is going to be how well they execute the PvP. You know, I mean, the co-op stuff, it's been likened to that mix between kind of Halo and Borderlands. I mean, that's all well and good. I quite enjoy playing I quite enjoyed playing a bit of Halo co-op with my friends. But the big draw for me for Halo was always the PvP, and I think Destiny will stand or fall on its ability to deliver top quality PvP action.
And that's also the one aspect of the game that they haven't really shown anything of so far. They've said it's there, and that's pretty much it. So that might actually be what they're focusing on for this E3.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some more info on that. That's sort of why I'm not super excited for it, because I'm kind of not sure still what game it's really going to be. Like, is it going to be? It's interesting because whenever we sort of talk about an MMO-ish shooter, you get super excited, and I think actually I get more worried when they say MMO, maybe because I haven't really played MMOs, so that's sort of an unknown territory. Where if they just say open world or something, I'll probably be more excited. But in the end, I think definitely I'm interested to see how the PvP works and how does it manage to work with playing with friends and other people and playing against AI and all that stuff. Is that thing like actually playing the game and seeing how all that works will determine if it works or not.
I think MMO, the term when it is applied to shooters, so MMO shooters, is quite it's not a clear description of what a game is, because you could describe World of Tanks as an MMO shooter, but you can definitely describe something like PlanetSide 2 as an open world shooter, but vastly different games. I think there's 16 players or something like that on World of Tanks on a PC server, and on PlanetSide there's hundreds, potentially thousands of people on the same persistent maps. Now, whether the kind of the shared world experience for Destiny comes down to the effectively glorified forums and lobbies, and the actual core experience is quite tightly nailed down to, you know, 8, 16 player, you know, possibly 32 player battles. Then, you know, I mean, Battlefield 4 has 64 player battles, and that's you know, I haven't heard bigger numbers than that flying around for Destiny. So, you know, this could still be quite a tight focused multiplayer game, just because all of the parts of the game are being connected together with these kind of hub worlds doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to feel like an MMO in the execution.
That sort of reminds me of, I think it was MAG that had 256 players.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Whenever I didn't play that a lot, but whenever I played that, I never felt that there were 256 players, because you're always sort of in the group of people you're in, like 16 people or something.
Right.
I think you did on some of the larger maps, especially in the beginning, but I mean that game failed fast. So I mean, in the end you would enter kind of, you know, half full maps, and you got the impression that there was only like 16 or 32 players. But I think in the beginning you had a lot of players and it was really a lot of fun.
But it's just that in the end, it's the same thing as the resolution conversation where
Yeah.
it's great that you say how many players there are, but it's really about the feeling you get when you play the game. Do I feel like it's an open world, or do I feel like it's narrow, and how does the story work, and how does it work against AI and PvP and all that stuff? Hopefully we'll get to see. We should see more of Destiny at E3, and hopefully we'll get to play it as well. Let's move on to a totally different game, Mirror's Edge 2. We really haven't seen anything of that game yet.
They announced it at last year's E3 with a nice sort of implication that it would be open world, and then.
Do you think the whole Battlefield situation have meant that people have moved from that to Battlefield instead?
No, I think they've had a separate team for it, and I also think, as far as I know, there's something that what used to be the studio that did Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
Was more or less shut down, and then they opened the DICE LA, and a lot of people moved over there. So they've been working on stuff under supervision and in collaboration with the Stockholm office. But I also think like what they announced. Well, obviously, since that demo says this is in-game footage or in-engine footage, they have to have something to show off. But I'm thinking when they announced it, it was still very early in development. DICE is a team that can crank out stuff pretty fast. Sometimes their stuff also,
Battlefield
shows that it was
Too
cranked
fast?
out pretty fast, but they can be very productive in shorter time frames. So I'm thinking, proper demonstration or something at the EA presser this year.
Do you think so?
Yeah,
I would
I'm
love
hoping
to
so.
see that. That would be amazing.
You're a
Michael?
big fan of the original?
Yeah, it's weird because I played that sort of while I had my period of not really playing a lot of games, where I really wasn't into it, and I don't know how I ended up playing it. And apparently, when you then come into the industry and hear that it was sort of a forgotten game or something, I loved that game. I'm so excited for the next one. Feels different and yeah. Mike, did you play the first Mirror's Edge?
I did, and I really liked it, even though it was perhaps lacking something that kind of took it to the highest levels. But I really enjoyed that the parkour and the visual style as well was that was a wonderful visual aesthetic that the game had. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing what they can do, as long as they tighten up on the actual mechanics, not the running, but the gunplay. Because for me that maybe was lacking. If anything was lacking in that game, it was the action maybe, rather than the way that you navigated around the environment. So yeah, looking forward to that
I
one.
think that was one of the games where I discovered trophies, and I thought I got the one for completing the game without killing people, and then I didn't at the end, and I was so mad. And then also just getting all the stars. Jesus Christ.
I just want to mention here, some people are asking if we should say one game, which one are you looking most forward to? We're going to talk about that in the end of the stream, just so you guys know.
So now is the time for people in the chat to bring up games that we're forgetting. So when we get to the end, if there's something
we can go like, oh yeah, that one, yeah.
We love all the games. Next game, I don't know anything about, and I'm sort of just worried because the last Alien game was sort of a...
Terrible.
Yeah. I've heard, never played it. So
Oh, wait,
why should I not be worried about this?
Alien Isolation, first
Yeah.
of all. You didn't say the
Yeah,
title,
no.
did you?
I just said Alien.
It's because you're so excited.
No, but honestly,
You
I don't
just
know
can't hide
anything.
it.
Just whenever I see Alien, it's like, oh, is it not one of those Alien games?
The game's being developed by Creative Assembly, their console team, which haven't done something in a long while. I think they've been working on this for quite a while. But mostly what Creative Assembly does is pretty good. And I think everybody at Sega knows that Colonial Marines was crap, and they sort of need to make a comeback, or at least like wipe the stain away, wash away the terribleness. So there's a lot of pride running on the project, but also what they've actually shown from it so far. And they revealed the game by letting people play it. That always says something about the level of confidence they have in the project, right? And most people came away from that demo being really impressed, because apparently it's a pretty goddamn effective survival horror game.
Okay.
Also,
It
I'd
is.
recommend,
It is very good. I've
our
played
viewers
it.
going to-
Oh yeah,
to,
Mike, have you actually played it?
Let's
I
hear
have,
what Mike
yes,
has
I've
to
played
say.
it.
I'll just shut up then.
Just want to say one thing before
don't
you're
sh-
saying
don't
that, Mike. I just really want to recommend people going into the GRTV. page and taking a listen to the sound bites from the game, how they made the sound in the game, because that's pretty awesome as well, and people should put on a pair of headphones, listen to that, get scared.
Okay.
Go on, Mike.
Well, I mean, the main thing that I kind of took away from the demo was that it felt authentic. You know, that it had the atmosphere, it captured the atmosphere of that first film really, really well. And one of the things that you can see from the dev diaries that they've released since it was announced is that they're putting in a lot of effort into making sure that it retains the feel of the original source material. In terms of gameplay, you know, there are still a couple of question marks, but not in terms of the quality of the experience that we had, because it was really good, very enjoyable, if that's the right word for being scared shitless. It was really good. My only concern is whether they will be able to sustain the panic, the terror over a large period of time.
And is that enjoyable to experience for 10 hours?
Well, that's it. I mean, my personal opinion, the way I'd like to see them go, now obviously whether they're planning on this is something that I'm not aware of, but the way I'd like to see it go would be a shorter experience, but with more replayability, you know, more kind of systemic mechanics folded in onto each other, so you are given more freedom to express yourself across a shorter story that then could be replayed and experienced differently. Because I'm not sure, like you said, Nick, I'm not sure that you can sustain that terror. I'm not sure that the alien, as scary as it was in the 20-minute demo that I tried, I'm not sure that by the end of 5 hours, 10 hours, will that still be as scary? Will that still hold the same fear factor? And that for me is the question mark. Early impressions, really positive. And I'm not a massive fan of the horror genre, but I really enjoyed the demo, and you know it scared the crap out of me, but I came out at the end with a big smile on my face, because it felt like it had been done right. You know, it felt like the people who were making it knew their source material inside out and were working hard to make sure that it was the best experience that it could be. And the only thing I can see putting the kibosh on their plans would be the challenge of realizing or stretching that experience out over a game, over a length of experience that people would expect from a AAA game.
That's because I know one of the points that they've sort of been pressing about the game is that the alien supposedly operates on a sort of own AI, and none of the encounters you have with it are pre-scripted. Did you get that impression that was actually true, or was it something that's sort of faking from what you played?
Well, from the demo we played, there were moments that bookended the encounter. So when the alien dropped into the environment, and then when we got out of the environment at the end, I think that was the same on the demo that I played, the same that Dory played, and from the same that I've seen on gameplay trailers. So that's obviously set in stone. The question that we kind of came out with afterwards was how whether they not rubber banded, but whether they kind of moved the alien around, whether it was what the pathfinding was like, you know, whether it was completely organic, or you know, whether they cut a few corners to kind of keep the pressure on the player. But that's something that we'll have to wait for longer with the game to find out.
I love that rubber banding alien, just like Mario Kart. That would be amazing. Actually, I want to say Dory is the first one who's gotten me a little bit excited for this game, and we've kind of covered that now, that this is Alien and not Aliens.
There's one.
Yeah,
Alien.
and it's like the first Alien film was scary, and the second one was going for action. And I mean, we have a lot of shooters, and this would be like that sort of experience. Maybe after playing that Outlast game, I'm a little bit more into sort of scary stuff. But yeah, if it's true what you say, Mike, that we don't know. But if it could be sort of play through a couple of hours experience, I'd rather have play that a couple of times instead of having a long story. And that's sort of a thing that I'm a little bit tired of sometimes, that we hear where people talk about how many hours a game is, like that's a quality. I'd rather have a short experience. I'll pay full price, just give me a quality one, instead of getting to that point in the game where there's 3 hours you have to like just get through because
they're
it's not
reusing
fun.
assets and dragging you from A to B and B to A.
And then you end up not finishing the game.
But I dare say, if they were to make a bold move like that, there would be an outcry. There would be people screaming from the rooftops that it was only 3.5 hours long, or that it could be completed at a speed run in 2 hours or something. There would be people who would lambast the game for that. But no, I agree with you. I think it would be better, and it would be better if it's better for the game to make a shorter game. Then yeah, I think some games should be shorter.
Would you rather have added 8 hours of stuff that's not good in the middle of a 2-hour game? And again, it could sort of end up being similar to Evolve in that way, where you have a level and you replay it, and that can play out different ways against this monster. I'd much rather have that sort of experience with Alien as well. But let's move on to the next game. Drive Club was supposed to be a launch title on PS4. It's supposed to be free. Still is free with PlayStation Plus, but it's all this talk with how
toned down version of the game.
Yeah,
like
I think.
But they didn't mention that at the big presentation at E3, but they did it like 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
Then they said it, and that's, I think, what's got most people confused. But they were just aiming to please the crowd on that E3 presentation, and then kind of, going like, hey, it's free. We have to pay for it, And they did that with a lot of stuff here.
But they've actually said, I don't know if they've updated that since, that, and again, bring on trophies, but that you can get the platinum by playing the free version. And even if you don't care about trophies, that says something about sort of how much you can get out of it.
And you can also keep the game even if you're not a PS Plus member anymore.
No,
if
you
game,
upgrade.
as far as I understand.
No, to the full game.
Because there's a lot of confusion about that. The PS Plus version is not the same as the game you buy at retail.
No,
but you can update the PS Plus version to what's in retail for a cheaper price.
Yeah.
And then you keep that even if you're PS Plus.
Oh, so that's what.
And that's actually how it works with everything PlayStation Plus. If you get something for free, you lose it if your subscription lapses.
People forget that.
If you put any sort of money into something on PlayStation Plus, you'll keep it after as well. That means if you have a 90% discount or a 50% discount or something,
exactly,
you'll keep it afterwards as well. But yeah, I got to play this last year. I think this was my first PS4 game, and it felt pretty good. A lot of people had talked about it being sort of very arcadey and very Need for Speed-like, which meant I just gave it full throttle and went straight in the first corner. But it sounds like this game has gone through a lot of iterations and changes since last year. Do you think this will be a big thing at this year's E3, or do you think they'll sort of
it
we
depends.
need to put some info out there and then that's sort of it?
I mean, if they're going to announce a Gran Turismo 6 1080p HD version for PS4 or Gran Turismo 7 or whatever it is, it's going to take some of the buzz out of this. But
They sort of need to wait with that, don't you think?
Yeah,
I think that would
but we
kill
know,
Drive Club.
but even if they just announce Gran Turismo, we have to wait 8 years for it.
I think they'll wait with the announcement.
Yeah.
That would kill that game if they. Although the last
true.
Gran Turismo haven't sold as well as the previous ones. Yeah, I don't know. Mike, how do you feel about Drive Club?
I played it. I quite liked it. I liked it with the control pad. I played it with the gyroscopic steering thing, and that was horrible. That was a horrible experience. I'm trying desperately to wipe from my memory, but it looks perfectly. It looks like a nice racer. I really enjoyed Forza when that came out on the Xbox One. So the bar's already been set high. Maybe apart from a lack of content in the long term that held Forza back, but that was a really solid game. Really enjoyed that. So I've got hopes that the Drive Club could do the same. And if taking it and running it through PS Plus and offering up a free version as well, if that builds up a big install base and kind of ushers in that shared community, and yeah, it could be a really solid title. Didn't blow my socks off when I played it, but it seemed like a really solid racer. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to. I can do with a racer on my PlayStation 4. I haven't. I don't think I've got one yet. So yeah, it'd be
And
good.
at least this will, like, now you need Plus to play multiplayer, so it means a lot of people should have a chance to try this game out before they sort of decide whether to upgrade to the full game. So you'll be able to try it to see if it lives up to what you want from
I
racing.
figure it'll get a pretty good install base pretty fast.
Yeah, for instance, one of the reasons should be, as Mike said, like there's Need for Speed, but there isn't like Sony's own racer yet. So yeah, and I mean that's the thing with these sort of games, and the same with shooters. It really matters if there's a
Community for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that will matter a lot.
Someone's writing here, do you think Drive Club will get any attention? I mean, the Crew, next car game, and a lot of other races are coming up.
But that's sort of different with this being Sony's game. So
Yeah.
So
So Sony's gonna back it themselves, and
yeah,
that will get attention.
that could probably mean that Sony won't show any other racers at their conference. They wouldn't pull in the Crew or something to, because the only thing is, as I said before, whether they will sort of just, okay, now we need to finish this, or if they're happy enough with the product to sort of make it a big deal out of it at E3. I think that will say a lot about what state the game is actually in.
I'd be really surprised if they didn't spend a significant amount of time on it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it'll get some showcasing.
All right. I think with that, we'll say thank you to Mike for joining us. He will also, of course, be part of our E3 coverage. He'll stay up all night for you guys to update us on news and put up trailers and all that stuff.
Stocking up on the high energy drinks as we speak.
Just before you leave, Mike, what is your most anticipated game at E3? Is that Destiny?
It's pretty much Destiny. Though I haven't played it yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of Evolve, because that looks like it could be a stellar experience. So yeah, bit of Destiny, bit of Evolve. You mentioned the Crew in the last game. I've had a look at that in Paris already, and that was really good. I really enjoyed that. So obviously I saw a small slice of the game, but I'm looking forward to that as well. So plenty of big games coming up.
All right. Thank you, Mike. And with that, we'll jump into the video that I sort of teased earlier. Ricardo from Gamereactor Portugal has recorded a little video for us, so we'll hear what he is excited for at E3. If our man behind the camera, our Icelandic flavor, is ready. There it is.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me once again and in Gamereactor Live. So what do I want to see about E3? I want to see games, basically. Last year was all about the new consoles. So this year I want them to wow us, to get us excited about owning PlayStation 4 on Xbox One, or even a Wii U. As you can see, I'm a big Batman and Assassin's Creed fan. So I want to see a lot of Unity and Arkham Knight. Especially because they are both being produced exclusively for the new gen platforms. And I want to see what that means, both visually and gameplay wise. For Batman, we already know they are introducing the Batmobile, and in theory that sounds awesome. As far as Assassin's Creed, the last year the pirate team worked really well, so I want to see how they will follow up on that. The Revolution team could transport the series back to where it peaked, at least for me, which is among European classic architecture. So I'm really looking forward to see more about it. Also from Ubisoft, I hope they announce and show a lot of Far Cry 4. In my opinion, Far Cry 3 was the best first-person shooter last gen. So I want to see more about that. What else? There are a lot of games I want to see. I want to see more about The Witcher 3. I want to see more about Phantom Pain and I hope Konami finally announces a release date for that. I hope to see Last Guardian. It's a long time coming, and a lot of other games, and hopefully a lot of surprises we don't know yet, or games like Uncharted 4 as well. I want to see. I hope to see at E3. Other than that, I know from Sony. I'm sure we're gonna hear a lot of about both PlayStation Now and Project Morpheus, of course. So I'm curious to see what the other two are showing. Xbox or Microsoft already announced the Xbox One version without the Kinect. So what else are they showing us? What else are they announcing at E3? As far as Nintendo, there are rumors that they're going to show new hardware. I'm not sure if that's true, if it's a new version of the Wii U. But I'm curious to see more about that new platform they just announced. That is similar to Skylanders and Disney Infinity. I think something like that can work really well with Nintendo characters like everyone in Mario, and Donkey Kong, and Samus, and Link and Zelda. So I think it has a lot of potential. I hope they do it well. And that's basically it. I hope E3 gonna say excited about gaming once again, like it did last year, and I'm sure Bengt and Gillen are bringing us the best coverage with all the best previews and the best interviews, and I'm looking forward to be posting all that and to be announcing all the news in Gamereactor Portugal. I think it's going to be a great E3 for both journalists and gamers, and it's a great time of the year to be a gamer. So that's it. Thanks for having me, guys. Have a good show, and see you next time. Cheers.
Thank you, Ricardo, from Gamereactor Portugal. Let's jump into one of the games he mentions that also is on the list for Mika from Gamereactor Finland, Assassin's Creed Unity.
Yes. I think after last year's Assassin's Creed, everybody is excited about that series
Back
again.
on.
Yeah,
The
they're back on track, and given the fact that the trailer they released, which will probably coming up on screen here shortly, the graphics in that look so amazing that.
But they also, the last Assassin's Creed was on both generations.
Yeah, they can
this
forget
is
about the old
only
generations
yeah,
now.
No old gen for this one. This is purely new computers, new gen, proper 8-core shit.
There's still rumors though that there's coming out something called Comet for the old consoles, but we don't know for sure yet.
That's
but
the speculation. But
so they can only they can concentrate on
this. This looks awesome.
Yeah.
And given how fun a game Black Flag was, and the setting of this, like Paris during the French Revolution, that sounds really exciting.
Yes, sounds good.
So as much as you can call an Assassin's Creed a passion project, I think this is probably it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Assassin's Creed is in a really good place at the moment.
Yeah.
So I have a ton of expectations for this.
I'm just sure you want him to stick less to stuff when you're running.
Sure, yeah.
I remember you complaining a lot about that.
It would be nice if I didn't accidentally run up walls instead of running through doors whenever I want to run somewhere. But
he's just so excited to get up on the rooftops.
Goddamn, I want that wall. Yeah.
Okay, a completely different question about Assassin's Creed. I played the first hour of the last one like 8
Black
times,
Flag?
but I still haven't finished 3, and I haven't finished Black Flag.
Right.
Do you think I should go back and play those before this?
It depends on what they're going to do with the story, really.
Yeah, and that I think one thing they always sort of keep a lid on is the sort of meta narrative that exists outside of the Animus and outside of the game world, and how those things tie together. That's something they don't really talk a lot about until the game is actually out.
Yeah.
So
And then
No,
it's
you
more kind of
prob-
us talk about it.
Yeah,
than
sure.
them actually.
And so no, you probably won't need a lot of because SEO is gone, and what was his name?
Edward Kenway.
No, the guy you played outside the Animus and all the early
Desmond?
games. Desmond, yes, Desmond's gone. So you probably don't need a lot of backstory reference to enjoy the game.
What about Altair? Is he
And that's not a spoiler at all, by the way, for anyone wanting to play the old games.
No. I just said he was gone. He's not in the picture anymore. There's no more Desmond for now. Black Flag. I jumped on Black Flag without having too intimate relationship with the old Assassin's Creed games, and I
You
loved
had a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
you
I-
also enjoyed the DLC as well, right?
Yeah, that was pretty good. It wasn't as good as the main game, but it was still pretty good. So, I think it's a pretty safe bet that this will be a great game, and you probably won't need to have played the previous ones to get what's going on.
Okay. All right. Next on the list, Star Wars Battlefront. That was sort of a thing similar to Mirror's Edge, where they showed a little bit,
Yeah.
and that was probably my favorite moment of E3 last year, where I was like,
Yeah.
Star Wars game is happening.
And what had happened then, that was shortly after
Disney buying.
Disney had Star Wars for a little while at that point, but that was shortly after they had announced they were shutting down LucasArts,
Yeah.
and that they had licensed Star Wars to EA.
Yeah.
So at that point, I think they probably made that trailer explicitly for E3, and then they didn't have anything else because they had just started out
that's
the
enough.
project. But like I said with the Mirror's Edge, this is a dice game. Dice works fast. So hopefully they'll show something substantial.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they'll show something substantial.
Am I the only one unable to get, excited about a Star Wars game anymore?
Yes, you are the only one.
But the thing is, it's Battlefront.
It's Battlefront. Of course.
It's Battlefield in Star Wars.
Yeah,
So-
it's Battlefront, but I mean, and that was a great series. But still, no more Star Wars, please.
Yeah.
Don't blink, don't
Yeah.
blink.
We'll-
There's
we'll-
a trailer coming up.
We'll show the E3
don't blink.
trailer right now.
It's-
Don't blink because it's short. But no, I feel what you're saying.
Yeah.
Star Wars, the prequel trilogy is so terrible that it ruined my.
Let's not get into that.
Well,
But I will say,
it sort of killed my interest in Star Wars.
but I will say at this point during E3 last year, this was the biggest what do you want to applaud and people getting excited. After that, we had the whole Sony thing where they were just stabbing at Microsoft. They got a bigger.
That's true.
You can
But
use
why
your
are
own
you
game.
no like the prequel?
But people went crazy at the EA conference for this thing.
Just from the name alone, because
Yeah,
that,
and
that,
that's the
that
thing.
was literally all there was at that point.
But it looks cool. This with the foot.
It's no.
And
it's an
It's not on
80-80.
main screen anymore, so people can't.
No,
actually
I'll
see
tell
it.
you, it looks
Oh,
cool.
there we go again.
Snow speeder.
But
80-80.
like I
Why
said, that's a pre-rendered thing that they probably had made specifically for that,
doesn't
and that nothing else existed
You're
at the
too
point they
easy.
made
Yeah,
that.
this the best thing is actually we know of another Star Wars game now. So
Yeah, visuals make
jumping
yeah.
off Uncharted. Oh
Yeah.
my God, Amy Hennig. Oh, how is Uncharted going to be? Well, they are making another
That
game
is true,
that
yes.
could potentially be awesome. And she started tweeting pictures of, I'm just having lunch with these guys. We're just talking about stuff like developers and voice actors.
Mm.
It was like, we're not talking about games really, but just teasing stuff. I was like, oh my God. So I think that could actually. Uncharted will probably be fine. If not, okay, they'll take a break and then come back to it. I think it's great that she's jumping onto another project, and we could get multiple great Star Wars games, especially after they stopped on 1313.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some sort of announcement on the visual thing.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Ricardo is saying Lee count me into not really excited about Star Wars. So at least,
He's not excited either?
No.
Just taking a note here.
Do not invite.
But that's okay. I'm excited enough for everyone, I think.
The thing about it, I mean, if it turns out to be shit, I won't care. It won't ruin anything for me because Star Wars is already dead.
Yeah, it already ruined your childhood.
No, not my. Well, no, it just it doesn't matter anymore. That's the thing.
Do we actually know anything about the Visceral game?
Nothing except the
Is
fact
that just
they're
me
making a Star
fabricating
Wars.
stuff in my head?
We know they're making a Star Wars game, That's what we know.
Okay, and it's probably just like we know she has written Uncharted. Maybe it will be a third person. I think it's just me hoping it will be sort of that Boba Fett thing.
Yeah,
with the
there's been like rumors and speculation and something like.
And Drake is back.
And
Wait,
a lot of fine reading job postings.
Yeah.
To sort of figure out what they're sort of brewing. So it sounds like from the job postings that it's going to be some sort of third person or open world-esque thing.
Yeah. How did you feel about 1313?
I think the graphics look really impressive.
Yeah. And that also
That's
looks,
it.
That also,
But it looked like it would be a dark, interesting Star Wars game.
yeah.
And then
lower
poof,
levels of,
it was gone.
Coruscant.
And
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
just
Boba
like,
Fett game.
Yeah, like all the stuff that came out after they closed down LucasArts, that sounded kind of interesting. But on the other hand, I mean, LucasArts were well past their prime.
It's probably a good thing. It's
Which
just
was
worth
a shame
being told
because-
afterwards
Yeah,
how amazing
sure,
game
like,
that could have been.
LucasArts back in the day, back in the 90s.
Point and click.
Back in the 90s, they were one of the greatest video game developers in the world and made some of the greatest video games in the world ever. And
are
then,
we getting too old and cynical to think it's that?
No.
No?
Then they turned into a Star Wars
Yeah, but I
factory
mean,
and made shit
even
games.
looking at episode 4 again, it's just like dreadful acting, and it's
It's still way better than the new trilogy. Way better. Anyway,
I'm very excited.
you're
I
saying
just wanna
LucasArts.
LucasArts used to be a good studio, and then they turned to shit. So like, I didn't really care about 1313 going up in smoke.
It's just I went to that presentation at E3, and that gave me the sort of, I don't know. Did you ever play the Bounty Hunter game? That probably isn't as great as I remember. I had so much fun being Jango Fett in that game, and then they show a sort of Uncharted game in Star Wars being dark, and then they tell me afterwards that there was Boba Fett.
Did they show 1313 in the presentation?
I saw one at E3.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God, this is the game I want to play. Like, I was more excited for that than I was for Last of Us.
Sure.
Just to put it on like sort of a level. And then it's canceled. But I'm just hoping that, anyway, we'll move on. I'm hoping any Amy Hennig game will be sort of that thing. That would be great. And just multiple Star Wars games. Next up, Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
It had
Tell
some
me
of our readers crying with joy, apparently, if we look through the comment sections.
I remember really
Because-
enjoying the first Kingdom Hearts on PlayStation 2.
Kind of a mix between Final Fantasy and Disney. Like,
Not kind
not
of.
kind of. No, not
an
kind
actual
of.
mix
Yeah,
of Final
yeah,
Fantasy
that's
and
true.
Disney. And then I haven't touched the series since, but I know like everything that, they did Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 on PlayStation 2, and then everything since then has been handheld and weird mobile
And we're
games.
getting an HD version of that as well, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, and they've done some remixes and whatever, but there's a lot of genuine excitement for this because people remember the old games fondly, and this is the first proper home console version they've
But
done.
this is
in
actually the
ages.
Dream Drop trailer, isn't it? I'm not sure. But
This is the trailer they did
At
for
E3.
Kingdom Hearts 3.
At
That's
E3,
also a
that's
montage of the old series. And that's the thing, because what they've shown of Kingdom
don't
Hearts
have
3...
enough
so
footage, so
pretty
they cut
much
in old stuff.
It's pretty much just, hey, we're doing Kingdom Hearts 3, and here's a scene
remember
of...
how great the old ones were?
Yeah, and then there's a scene of the guy running through being chased by stuff. And that's it. So, they owe us a proper demo or something substantial for Kingdom Hearts 3. Is like my...
Are you excited for it? Because this does nothing. I've never
Nope.
played the old one, so it does
Nope.
nothing for
Honestly,
me.
Yeah, no, well, for me personally, no, not really, because I don't really care about JRPGs. And this is
I
a
understand
JRPG,
why people are
Yeah,
excited
sure,
for
it's
this,
cool.
but personally, no, I don't care for this game, and it's not because I don't like the RPGs. It's just like,
Yeah, it's probably if you played the old ones, you really love them, then you're excited for the next one. Next on my list, Nintendo.
Yep.
as we said in the beginning, no
Not-
E3
yeah.
conference officially.
But they're doing a direct again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doy, do we have the trailer actually where they are showing sort of what to expect from their non-E3 conference?
But
In
anyway,
2
they're
minutes.
doing what they did last year, where they're inviting people in. They're running a sort of Nintendo Direct, I think, on the internet, and then they're just sort of this area where journalists can go play the games, and that's sort
And
of
then
what
they will be on the show floor with,
Yeah.
with all the
So
users
there will
available.
be coverage of Nintendo games, and I think we should be invited and all that stuff. So we'll
Ricardo,
jump on it.
we're talking about the new hardware.
Yes.
And of course that might be something that's interesting. Basically, they're turning the Wii U into kind of a portal, like from Skylanders and stuff like that. Apparently,
And
Yeah,
just
I-
Infinity.
and so you can buy stuff for their Skylander
Yeah.
yeah.
clone or
What
whatever it
Ricardo
is.
said was like, because Nintendo said they will come with new hardware. Do we think that is the new hardware, or do you
Yeah.
think Nintendo will come out with a new? Because he mentioned a new version of the Wii U. Will there be some sort of update to that? What could happen?
I'm not sure if they dare to do that.
Place your bets, gentlemen.
Oh, that's the trailer.
No, I
Let's
think.
take a look.
Oh yeah. Well,
A biosynthetic infiltration android.
It's huge.
Yeah, life size, and it's totally
looks like
indestructible. Except, do not give it
This
water;
is
it
so
will explode,
Nintendo.
and it only has 5 minutes of
But
battery.
it's
But other than
making
that, it's
64.
totally rad.
Question. Why
sure,
is he wearing
and that's also the guy.
Oh,
from,
yeah.
But this is also like really Nintendo.
It is.
But what do we think Nintendo will do, and what do we hope they will do? What do they need to do?
I think they will show off Super Smash Bros.
Yeah. On both 3DS and Wii U.
Maybe show off that Yoshi's Epic
Epic
Yarn,
Yarn.
which isn't called Yoshi's Epic Yarn, but it's
They should have called that. Would have been amazing, and then done Mario's Epic Yarn. And
Yoshi with Yarn. I think they'll show off that game. Then they'll probably announce
a Zelda game,
no,
a Mario game,
no,
a Metroid game.
no.
That's actually on
Could
Ricardo's.
be. Yeah, could be.
No, that's
Metroid,
David.
yeah.
David is saying Retro Studios game for Wii U. That could be.
Retro Studios might make something, but I don't. The thing is,
What is
No.
the thing?
I think Nintendo has lost it.
Yeah.
You said what they needed to do. They need to do pull out these controllers from Men in Black, wipe us, so we forget the last 2 years, and then start afresh, and we'll be excited
But
again.
Nintendo is in a position where they have enough money to not be
Yeah.
worried.
They can keep losing money for decades.
Yeah.
But to me, it seems like they're stuck in their ways to a degree where they're relying on the same sequels to the same old games that they've always done, and they're sort of
New IP.
They don't have the boldness to make something that's completely brand new.
It's quite strange, I think, because whenever Activision go out and say, "Hey, we're bringing out a new Call of Duty game," people are going like, "Boo!" again, and then they go like, "Hey, we're coming with a new Mario." Oh my God, a new Mario! And it's just like, well, now we've seen it.
Yeah.
Let's have something.
But I think
fresh.
that is a lot of people are beginning to get tired of that now.
Yeah.
I'm sort of in a position where I think I want, I don't think I'll buy a Wii U. I'm tired of that. I want like a new Nintendo console with a normal controller, and I actually wouldn't mind just a Mario and a Zelda game and then a new IP.
just buy a classic controller,
But there's games where you need to play, and there's
Yeah,
not enough
that's
games
true.
I'm excited
Fine.
for.
One thing I might be a little bit unfair about Nintendo because I think there's a big difference between those games and a lot of other sequels. It is they always get high grades.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, so you kind of know that you're getting this quality product, even if it isn't, crazy innovative or anything like that. And that might be enough for some people. At least this platform, you're able to, distinguish from other platforms. You're getting your own kind of games
Sure.
Yeah.
on this. I think I saw some comments earlier today, actually, also on Gamereactor. People were talking about the PS Vita and how it's just sort of an extension. But if you look at the 3DS, Nintendo has been really good at communicating. You're getting special IPs on the 3DS that you won't get anywhere else, and that might be their force.
But it could
To-
also be
to
their
us, they might
problem for
seem
the
stuck,
Wii U
but-
that they're focusing
Of
so
course.
much on 3DS, and they're doing well with that. I actually used to be because here I'm sort of the Sony guy, but I was the Nintendo guy, and I feel, and I think a lot of
Nintendo
people,
64.
yeah,
Amazing.
Still my favorite console of all time. Most of my favorite games are on that. I feel a little bit burned by Nintendo in some ways.
Right.
Like they're not catering to me anymore.
Right.
And it's the same thing they've said now. One of the last ones they talked about going to the whole fitness thing, which is great. I also bought the Wii Fit. I bought all that stupid stuff, but now I'm sort of, I want
But
the
you gain
feeling.
too much muscle too fast.
Yeah,
right?
look at me. Like I can't. I need to pick up the phone like this now, and it's not good. I want that feeling and from the Nintendo 64 and the old consoles. And maybe that's
Exactly.
maybe I can't get that because you're remembering it better than it was. But
I loved my GameCube. I have zero
Me
interest in
too,
Wii U
yeah.
because it just seems like most of the games they're doing are either rehashes of things they've already done a million times before, or taking a bunch of old characters and stuffing them into something that's been done before by somebody else.
But isn't the change also happened from GameCube to Wii? At least for me.
Probably,
That's where
yeah,
they did the,
yeah.
Even
I do
though
think
the
there's
GameCube didn't
another
do well.
thing though also, that is the whole online thing. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Terrible at online.
I mean, I don't, there's a lot of interesting smaller games coming out on the Wii U. I don't want to buy them because I don't feel I own them.
Yeah,
And-
that's the same thing for me. Yeah.
And that's enough, you know.
And that's why if they could do, maybe they can update the Wii U, but if they could do a new console where it works like the other consoles, where I could re-download my games, and if someone steals my Wii U, I don't like lose them.
Exactly.
And that stuff just works, and the million-digit French codes and like all that stuff. Just, I mean, I want to play Mario Kart. I want to play the next Super Mario game. I want to play the next Zelda game, but it's just too cumbersome right now to sort of. And there's enough good stuff on the other consoles. I think I'd buy a PlayStation and an Xbox before, and that's sort of. Every time we sort of cover this, I cry a little bit inside because I am still like I still want the Nintendo games, the old Rareware games that like I think are the best.
They strike me as a company that's out of touch.
Yeah,
and that's a shame because they used to be great,
Yeah.
but now they seem like the old senile guy who doesn't know where he is.
yeah. Do you think there's a chance that they will,
Bounce back?
Yeah.
Not with the Wii U.
But
I think-
maybe they should also just say, okay, we'll write this, sort of, we'll get the best out of it and start focusing on, and then in next couple of years they'll have that ready.
Yeah,
And bounce back with that.
The major challenge for them right now is that, on the one hand, the market has pretty much spoken and said in unrevocable terms they're not really interested in the Wii U. They want something that's bigger and faster and has support of third-party
3DS
developers.
started out like that as well. They bounced back with that.
Yeah, but not to the same degree. I mean, they bounce back, yes, but not in the it's still a far cry from the DS.
Yeah. But don't
But
you
then
think
also,
that could scare them?
but then
like,
also,
fuck it up?
the problem is that they don't want to burn the people who have already invested in the Wii
Yeah,
U
true.
by moving on to new hardware, which is probably what most people actually want them to do. Like, realize that the Wii U is a failure, and move on to something more coherent. And because the Wii was a generation behind.
But it was still a great success.
And then they did the Wii U at the end of the generation it was catching up with. And now they're a generation behind again. And I think everybody's sort of expecting them to, or hoping that they'll move into a position where they'll be competitive hardware-wise with Microsoft and Sony. And that won't happen because they don't want to abandon the people who have already invested.
But
in the
it's
Wii U.
always been the policy to make low fee and sell it at a high price. I mean, they've done it all the way.
Not really. I mean,
Nintendo 64 was
Nintendo 64, but they had another measure here. They had the whole piracy. It was still low fee compared to like the PlayStation or Dreamcast or anything like that.
The GameCube was more powerful than PlayStation 2. The
64 was more powerful than PlayStation. It was 64
it wasn't.
and PlayStation
it
was
cer-
32.
There you
No,
go.
now
again
we're
with the
talking
numbers.
do the math like the Atari Jaguar.
That was the 64 was in a weird position. It was certainly better than the Saturn. The Super Nintendo was in some respects better than the Mega Drive. In some respects, it weren't. The NES made the modern video game market and was better than all the 8-bit challengers that came around. It's only been with the Wii and the Wii U that they really seriously lack technologically behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree on that one, but
No.
but
Well,
let's
what I'm
tend
worried
to,
about is that because something like the 3DS happened, where Nintendo bounced back, that they think they can just do that again.
Yeah, but I think, they just turned into the financials again, and the Wii U sales are slowing down even more than they had expected them to. And they have to keep lowering their sales forecast because they just aren't hitting those marks because people don't want the console.
Yeah.
Apart from new hardware, what do you think Nintendo needs to actually make the platform viable or platform?
They need a proper modern online ecosystem that third-party publishers will want to get in on. Like EA has pretty much straight out said that the way the current Nintendo online model works doesn't fit with their digital strategy, and so they won't touch it. And I think that goes for a lot of third-party publishers.
Yeah, I agree.
So until they fix that, they won't get support from anybody. And even if they fix that, they might still need better hardware.
How about games? How about games?
I think they need.
Is there anything you would go like crazy if they announced a special game for Nintendo? Is there anything that would make you change sort of your position on Nintendo, going like, wow, now they finally give me what I want?
Yeah, nothing that they could nothing from their back catalog that they could do a new game on would turn me on the Wii.
I think nothing at all because of what you said. That I feel like I wouldn't own the game, and I don't want another machine for one game. Like it would really need to be several like tens, for it to be worth it.
Pokemon MMO says Dory.
Yeah, I mean, I'm if you're a big Nintendo guy out there and you're enjoying your Wii U, like great. I hope they'll continue to support it so the people who are supporting and enjoying it are getting the best out of it. But yeah, we'll see how that whole thing pans out.
I think we've got about 10 minutes left, and some of the readers are mentioning a few games here, like what do you think of Sony Online's Entertainment EverQuest Next?
I have never played an EverQuest game.
Yeah.
But then again, this looks like it's sort of a cross now between your own role-playing editor and Minecraft.
Actually,
and that
no,
alone is crazy interesting.
That's EverQuest Landmark, which is a separate thing.
Oh yeah, of course. I keep.
EverQuest Next is just a new MMO built with the same tools that are available in EverQuest Landmark.
Yeah, so we need to define which one he's thinking about. But yeah,
I think
Batman Arkham Knight.
Yes.
You.
Yeah,
yes.
one of the games Ricardo brought up as well.
I loved Arkham Asylum and Arkham City.
And the good thing is, the fun thing is, you keep referring to this as the third game, while ignoring, that other game.
Arkham Origins was Batman Zero, sort of, and done by a different studio. And even Rocksteady is speaking about the way they're phrasing it is Arkham Knight is the end of the Rocksteady Batman Arkham trilogy. Yeah. I have really high hopes for that. I can't actually remember if Batman usually has a strong presence at E3.
I don't think it's had. I've seen it 2 times at GDC.
Yeah.
And at the spring showcase for Microsoft there. That's where I've seen a lot, and then again in the fall.
Right.
But maybe we'll see. It also depends on how much stuff Sony and Microsoft has themselves.
Yeah, because I don't think Warner is usually big on the first-party press conferences, and they don't do their own press conference. But I don't know.
Another delusional guy here is talking about saying, talk about Fallout 4.
That's one of the things actually Gatsa brought up.
Yeah.
And Dory wants as well.
Yeah, that's the one I'm referring to.
I think everybody wants Fallout 4.
Of course, yeah.
Do you think it'll happen?
Nah.
Eventually, sure.
But this E3?
No.
Okay. Another game, I'm just going to run through what the editors has brought up. Fabricia brought up Last of Us sequel.
Too early.
Yeah, I think that as well. Being ported to PS4 now, so they'll have that focus. It'll be.
I think it's likely going to happen, but again, not this.
Naughty Dog are good and fast, but they have problems right now. It looks like, and they're also working on Uncharted. So.
I'm just going to put this rumor out here. You heard about that Fallout 4 coming exclusively for PS4 and Project Morpheus.
I wonder how Dory would feel about that. He would buy a PS4, I think, is how that would end up.
And the glasses, and we would never see him again.
Not happening.
Shenmue 3 Gats also mentions.
No.
Shenmue?
Yeah.
Nah.
No. Shenmue is stupidly overrated.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah. I know them.
Just like Gatsa.
I know them are fighting words, but.
No, but it was interesting back in those days.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of.
It's a Dreamcast generation game.
I will go save my father. What after I buy these small little funny collectibles?
I'm looking for some sailors. Have you seen any sailors? And then you go race the forklifts.
I want to play that game.
I think there's a lot of nostalgia attached to that game. Yeah. But fact is, it didn't sell very well, and it's over it's a decade ago that game was made or more. I don't think it's happening ever. Also because Sega is not in a good spot financially. There's definitely not in a good spot on console. Like they've attuned themselves to be more of a PC focused publisher. I think Alien Isolation is the only console game, at least from Europe, that they have in the pipeline. And that's the Aliens license, so that's going to get a lot of backing, and that seems like a surefire success. I don't think they're willing to take a risk on something like Shenmue.
All right, next Martin Isa says he is looking forward to see what Microsoft does with TV at E3. How much focus do you think will be on that?
I think there'll be a lot of focus on it, and I think it'll all be, US centric, and I think
But
it'll be
that's
bored
what I
to
hate.
tears during that part of the press
That's what I
conference.
hate. Whenever I see this and they're saying something about it, you just go like, that
Yeah.
sounds awesome, but
Will
or it
never
sounds
happen,
good.
yeah.
But it's not going to happen, Here.
ESPN and Major League Baseball and Hulu and all sorts of other shit that you don't get in Europe. Fuck you.
And you
No.
have to look up what it is.
Yeah, that I think that's what they'll certainly do a bunch of that, and
Too much.
Yeah, and
But I mean,
we'll
it's
hate
called Game On, and they recently announced that they have, they're going to next month sell the Xbox One without Kinect.
One of my predictions. We did the prediction show. I'm gonna win that.
I think everybody expected that to happen.
Well, I said it in the show. Go back and watch it. I'm winning that. Martin Ice also mentions Sony, and he is looking forward to seeing what they do with Morpheus and
Yes.
PlayStation Now. That's sort of their thing. Assuming that will happen as well, they need to bring that up and talk about that, right?
Yeah, they'll probably need to do something on Morpheus. Might do something on PlayStation Now,
They
but
kind of
again,
need to explain it more because we don't have a lot of details on that.
yeah, I think they've announced the hardware, and that's about it. I don't know if anybody's even tried it yet. As for PlayStation Now, I think they're going to talk about it, and like all the Microsoft TV talk, it'll be US exclusive for the foreseeable future. So, it'll be sort of perfectly interesting, but not really relevant to European people.
Two questions here from the chat. The Last Guardian,
Yeah,
is E3?
one of the games, Ricardo games. I think, who will it be mentioned? I mean, they keep saying it's still happening.
Yeah.
So it would make a lot of sense that it happens this year.
Yeah.
And it will be a PlayStation 4 game.
what
What they did 3 years ago or something was just like, fuck this, we're doing it on PlayStation 4.
I'd go as far as saying if it doesn't happen on this E3, it's dead.
But they it needs to, like if they keep saying it's just if it doesn't happen, it would make they shouldn't comment on it, and they keep commenting on it.
Yeah, sure, but I think the last time they commented on it was back in November-ish.
I think they did it again this spring, actually.
Really?
Right? Yoshida on
they
Twitter
did.
was
They
like,
did.
Okay.
yeah, it's still in development.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Okay, we've only got a few minutes left. I'm just having someone saying H1C1.
Oh, the zombie game.
That would be awesome.
I mean, I want to see that. That is that might be the one I'm looking most forward to, actually.
Yeah.
So
That's the last game that we haven't covered that Ricardo mentions.
Far
is
Cry 4?
Far Cry 4. He hopes that will be announced,
That seems like a safe, reasonable bet.
and
yeah.
that's one of your.
Because we know the game is coming.
It makes sense it's coming at least. And probably the guy who worked on the third one, who did Child of Light,
Right.
could be working on it now. Maybe it's a little bit too early then.
Well, they announced and showed off, I think I think they showed off Far Cry 3 for the first time 2 years before it was actually released.
Yeah.
And if I think...
It was at 2 E3s at least.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that Far Cry has been like formally announced, or at least been part of a pre-order incentive or something.
Yeah.
That that everybody, Ubisoft officially recognizes the fact that there will be a Far Cry 4.
Maybe an investor's call or
Yeah, something like that probably.
then we've got Resident Evil 7. Feel the horror again.
There's a Resident Evil 7.
No. But
It'll
people are
probably
dreaming now. No.
I don't know.
Nah.
Nah.
You kind of don't care about the series anymore because, but then again, they might have realized, Outlast, all of these titles, they might have realized that horror is actually in again to do. It doesn't need to be
Sure.
an action fest.
But yeah, no, but the sort of horror that's in is a very different type of beast than the Resident Evil series.
It might be, but then again, the Resident Evil series has changed so much, so they could probably change again to something more.
I think
akin
I'd
to
rather
what's
just
in.
have a new IP than the Resident
Yeah,
Evil
yeah,
name would
yeah.
make me.
Yeah.
Like they would need to convince me then. Where if it's a new name, then I would be. Yeah, new IP.
And
would
for
be
those
better.
and for those people who are really into Resident Evil, we're getting Evil Within.
Yeah. How are we doing on time?
We've got 1 minute left.
Oh my
Let's
God.
end up with what game are you most excited for?
Oh, I can't remember if we actually agreed upon saying something here. So I'm just gonna say Evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I played it and I know it's effing awesome. I'll also honorable mention for Civilization Beyond Earth.
And you're out of time. H1, C1, that's my bet now because yeah, I forgot how much I want that. You?
The visual game. Amy Hennig, Star Wars. without a doubt. We don't know anything. It's just that they're working on a game, but it's just it could be so amazing, please. And I know Dory will say Fallout 4. Let us know in the comments on the video.
And someone is saying, how could you forget the Call of Duty game, Nick?
Okay.
Are we counting down 10, 9, no more time?
I think the trailer looks less exciting than the previous games. I'm more into the more military shooters, so all the crazy sci-fi stuff doesn't do anything for me. But I'm excited for it. I'm way more into the multiplayer than the single player, and we haven't seen any multiplayer. So, one last thing. I've heard that they've talked to a lot of pro players about the multiplayer, about esports. That I'm excited for. But we won't know for months. And if we see anything at E3, it'll be story, and I'm less and less excited about that.
I think that concludes our E3 pre-2014 stream, or whatever we should call it. Yes. And remember, we'll be covering E3 constantly between the 9th and 12th of June, and probably sometime after as well.
And then we'll sleep for a real long while.
Yes, we will. And that was it.
GTA online tomorrow. Join me for that. Yeah.
Woo.
Bye.